Hey everyone, it's me, coming at you with another video to help you navigate the often confusing world of health and nutrition. Today we're tackling a big one: cholesterol. You've probably heard this word thrown around a lot, usually with a negative spin. Cholesterol is a waxy, fat-like substance that's found in all the cells in your body. Your body needs some cholesterol to make hormones, vitamin D, and substances that help you digest foods. But having too much of it in your blood can combine with other substances to form plaque, which sticks to the walls of your arteries. This is atherosclerosis, and it can lead to serious problems like heart attacks and strokes. So, yeah, it's a big deal. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is something I really want to dive into today. For decades, we were told to avoid high cholesterol foods at all costs. The thinking was simple: eat cholesterol, raise your blood cholesterol. Makes sense, right? Well, modern science has shown us it's not that black and white. Many foods that are high in dietary cholesterol are actually incredibly nutritious and don't significantly raise your blood cholesterol levels. In fact, some of them are packed with heart-healthy nutrients. The real culprits are often the foods high in saturated and trans fats, which cause your liver to produce more cholesterol. So, in this video, we're going to separate fact from fiction. We'll look at the good high cholesterol foods that you can and probably should include in your diet. We'll examine the bad foods that you should limit, and we'll definitely uncover the ugly ones, the foods that offer little nutritional value and pose a real risk to your cardiovascular health. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge to make informed, healthy choices that work for you. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with a classic, the one food that has been at the center of the cholesterol debate for years: the egg. For a long time, eggs were villainized. A single large egg contains about 186 milligrams of cholesterol, which is more than half of the previously recommended daily limit. This led many people, including doctors, to advise limiting egg consumption, especially for those at risk of heart disease. It seemed logical, right? High cholesterol in the food must mean high cholesterol in your blood. But as we've learned more, the story has become much more nuanced and, frankly, a lot more positive for egg lovers. The truth is, for most people, the dietary cholesterol in eggs has a minimal impact on their blood cholesterol levels. What's more important is what else is packed into that shell. Eggs are a nutritional powerhouse. They are loaded with high-quality protein, essential for muscle repair and growth. They also contain important nutrients like vitamin D, vitamin B12, choline, which is crucial for brain health, and antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, which are great for your eyes. Numerous large-scale studies have looked at egg consumption and heart disease risk, and the consensus is that for the average person, eating up to 1 egg per day is not associated with an increased risk of heart disease. Next up, let's talk about shrimp. This is another food that often gets a bad rap because of its cholesterol content. A 3-ounce serving of shrimp contains around 180 milligrams of cholesterol, which is comparable to an egg. Because of this, many people who are watching their cholesterol levels tend to avoid it. But if you do that, you're missing out on a fantastic source of lean protein and other valuable nutrients. It's time we looked beyond that single number and saw the whole picture when it comes to these tasty crustaceans. Here's the key thing to understand about shrimp. While it's high in cholesterol, it's extremely low in saturated fat. And as we're learning, it's really the saturated and trans fats in our diet that have a much bigger impact on raising our LDL or bad cholesterol levels. In fact, some research suggests that despite its cholesterol content, shrimp might actually have a positive effect on your lipid profile. It's been shown to raise HDL, the good cholesterol, which helps remove cholesterol from your arteries. Plus, shrimp is a great source of selenium, an antioxidant that fights inflammation, and astaxanthin, which gives shrimp its pink color and has some pretty potent anti-inflammatory properties. Chapter 3. Moving on to another treasure from the sea: sardines. These small, oily fish are often overlooked, maybe because they come in a can, but honestly, they are one of the most nutrient-dense foods you can eat. Yes, they do contain cholesterol, about 142 milligrams per 3.75-ounce can. But what they offer in return for your heart health is truly remarkable. We really need to stop judging foods by one single component and start looking at the entire nutritional package, and sardines are a perfect example of why this is so important for our health. The real story with sardines is their incredible omega-3 fatty acid content. They're packed with EPA and DHA, two types of omega-3s that are famous for their heart protective benefits. These healthy fats can help lower blood pressure, reduce triglycerides, a type of fat in your blood, and decrease inflammation throughout the body. On top of that, sardines are an excellent source of calcium, especially when you eat the tiny, edible bones, as well as vitamin D and vitamin B12. So, while they do contribute some cholesterol, their powerful anti-inflammatory and heart-healthy nutrients far outweigh any potential concerns. Now let's venture into a category of food that isn't as common on the modern dinner plate, but is incredibly rich in nutrients-organ meats. I'm talking about things like liver, kidneys, and heart. Historically, these parts of the animal were highly prized for their nutritional value. However, they are exceptionally high in cholesterol. For example, a 3.5-ounce serving of beef liver contains over 300 milligrams of cholesterol. This high concentration is a major reason why many people, and even some health guidelines, suggest limiting their intake, especially for individuals with cholesterol concerns. But here's the other side of the coin. Organ meats are ridiculously nutrient-dense. That same serving of liver is one of the best sources of vitamin A, vitamin B12, iron, zinc, and copper you can find. It's like a natural multivitamin. The concern about cardiovascular risk is real, but it's often linked to how these meats are prepared and what they're served with, like frying in unhealthy fats or serving with rich, heavy gravies. For a healthy individual, consuming organ meats in moderation as part of a balanced diet can be a great way to boost nutrient intake. However, due to the high cholesterol content, if you already have high cholesterol or a history of heart disease, this is definitely a food you should discuss with your doctor first. Cheese. For many of us, it's a beloved food that makes everything taste better. But it's also a source of dietary cholesterol and, more significantly, saturated fat, which has put it on the watch list for heart health. A single slice of cheddar cheese can contain around 20 to 30 milligrams of cholesterol and a significant amount of saturated fat. Multiply that by a few slices on a pizza or in a grilled cheese sandwich, and you can see how it quickly adds up. This has led to the conventional wisdom that cheese is bad for your heart and should be eaten sparingly. However, recent research is starting to challenge this idea. It turns out the story of cheese and heart health is more complex. Cheese is also a fantastic source of calcium and protein. Some studies have even suggested that certain compounds in cheese, formed during the fermentation process, might have a protective effect on the heart. A large meta-analysis found that moderate cheese consumption was not associated with an increased risk of heart disease, and, in some cases, was even linked to a slightly lower risk. The key here is moderation and context. A slice of cheese on a whole grain cracker is very different from a cheese-drenched plate of nachos. Red meat, particularly beef, is often cited as a major contributor to high cholesterol because of its saturated fat content. This is a valid concern, and we'll talk more about fatty cuts later. But I want to take a moment to discuss a specific type grass-fed beef. There's a lot of buzz around it being a healthier option, but does that apply to its cholesterol content? The cholesterol level in grass-fed beef is actually quite similar to that of conventional grain-fed beef. So, if you're just looking at that one number, you might not see a difference. The real difference lies in the fat composition and the overall nutrient profile. Grass-fed beef typically has less total fat and, more importantly, a healthier fatty acid profile. It contains significantly more omega-3 fatty acids, the same heart-healthy fats we praised in sardines, and less omega-6 fatty acids, which can be pro-inflammatory in high amounts. It's also richer in conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, a type of fat that has been linked to various health benefits. So while the cholesterol number itself isn't lower, the accompanying package of fats and nutrients makes it a potentially better choice for your heart health when consumed in moderation as part of a balanced diet. For years, we were all told to choose low-fat or fat-free dairy products. The logic seemed pretty clear. Full-fat dairy, like whole milk and full-fat yogurt, contains more saturated fat and cholesterol, which were thought to be direct paths to heart disease. Just to give you an idea, a cup of whole milk has about 24 milligrams of cholesterol and a decent amount of saturated fat. So, the advice was to ditch the full-fat versions to protect our hearts. This, honestly, led to supermarket aisles filled with skim milk, low-fat yogurt, and fat-free cheese, and many of us made the switch without a second thought. But, just like with cheese, the science is evolving. Recent large-scale observational studies are finding that people who consume full-fat dairy don't necessarily have a higher risk of heart disease. In fact, some research suggests they might even have a lower risk of obesity and type 2 diabetes. The fat in dairy may help with satiety, keeping you fuller for longer, and the complete package of nutrients, including calcium, vitamin D, and protein, is beneficial for bone health and overall wellness. This doesn't mean you should start chugging whole milk, but it does suggest that incorporating some full-fat dairy into a balanced diet is likely not the villain we once thought it was. Now we're moving into the bad and ugly categories, and first on our list is fried foods. I'm talking about things like French fries, fried chicken, donuts, and anything else that takes a swim in a deep fryer. These foods are problematic for a number of reasons. First, the items themselves, like fatty cuts of meat or refined dough, can already be high in cholesterol and unhealthy fats. But honestly, the real damage happens during the frying process, especially when restaurants use unhealthy oils like hydrogenated vegetable oils. Frying at high temperatures can create trans fats, which are, honestly, the absolute worst type of fat for your heart. Trans fats raise your LDL, or bad cholesterol, while at the same time lowering your HDL, or good cholesterol, a truly terrible combination. They also promote inflammation and increase your risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Furthermore, fried foods are incredibly calorie-dense and often low in nutrients, which, contributes to weight gain. When it comes to cholesterol and overall health, deep-fried foods are definitely an ugly that should be strictly limited or really avoided altogether. And next in the ugly category are processed meats. This includes items like bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, and jerky. These foods are popular for their convenience and taste, but honestly, they pose a significant risk to your cardiovascular health. While the cholesterol content can vary, the real issue lies in the high levels of saturated fat and sodium. For instance, just a couple of slices of bacon or a single sausage link can pack a surprising amount of saturated fat, which directly prompts your liver to produce more LDL cholesterol. Beyond the fat content, the processing itself is a major problem. To preserve these meats and enhance their flavor, manufacturers load them with sodium and chemical preservatives like nitrates and nitrites. High sodium intake is a well-known driver of high blood pressure, which is a major risk factor for heart disease. The chemical preservatives have also been linked to inflammation and damage to blood vessels. Numerous large studies have consistently shown that regular consumption of processed meats is associated with a significantly higher risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even certain types of cancer. These are definitely foods to be very cautious with. You might not think of a muffin or a cookie as a high cholesterol food, but you'd be surprised. Many commercially prepared baked goods, cakes, pastries, cookies, and croissants are made with ingredients that are terrible for your cholesterol levels. These often include butter, shortening, or palm oil, which are high in saturated fat. Sometimes they even contain partially hydrogenated oils, a source of artificial trans fats. So while the flour and sugar themselves don't contain cholesterol, the fats used to make these treats are a big problem. The other villain here is added sugar. A diet high in sugar and refined carbohydrates can have a very negative impact on your blood lipid profile. It can lead to higher triglycerides, lower HDL or good cholesterol, and an increase in small, dense LDL particles, which are particularly damaging to your arteries. This combination of unhealthy fats and high sugar creates a perfect storm for developing high cholesterol, insulin resistance, and ultimately, heart disease. That sweet morning pastry might seem harmless, but its regular consumption is a major contributor to poor cardiovascular health. We touched on grass-fed beef, but now let's talk about red meat more broadly, specifically the fatty cuts. This includes things like ribeye steaks, T-bone steaks, pork ribs, and lamb chops, the kind of cuts that are known for their rich flavor and tender texture. That flavor and texture, unfortunately, come from a high concentration of intramuscular fat, which is primarily saturated fat. As we've established, a diet high in saturated fat is a primary driver of high LDL cholesterol levels. While these meats are a good source of protein, iron, and vitamin B12, their high saturated fat content makes them a food to be consumed with caution. When you eat these fats, your liver responds by producing more cholesterol. If you're regularly eating large portions of fatty red meat, you're likely pushing your LDL cholesterol levels in the wrong direction. The key is to choose leaner cuts of meat when you can, like sirloin, tenderloin, or 90-10 ground beef, and to keep your portion sizes in check. Treat those rich fatty cuts as an occasional indulgence rather than a dietary staple. Finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to unhealthy eating fast food. A typical fast food meal, think a double cheeseburger, large fries, and a soda, is a trifecta of everything we've been warning against. The burger patties are often made from fatty ground beef loaded with saturated fat. The cheese is processed, the bun is made from refined white flour, and the French fries are deep-fried in unhealthy oils, potentially creating trans fats. It's a cholesterol-raising nightmare on a tray. This combination of high saturated fat, trans fat, refined carbohydrates, and often staggering amounts of sodium has a direct and detrimental effect on your health. It's not just about one meal. Regular consumption of fast food is strongly linked to obesity, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, and, of course, high cholesterol and heart disease. These meals are engineered to be hyper-palatable and cheap, making them an easy but dangerous choice. For the sake of your long-term health, fast food is one of the ugliest categories of food and should be consumed as infrequently as possible. So, after going through the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's the main takeaway? The big picture is that dietary cholesterol is not the enemy we once thought it was. We've seen that incredibly nutritious foods like eggs and sardines are high in cholesterol, but packed with benefits that are great for your health. The real focus should be on limiting foods high in saturated and trans fats, like fried foods, processed meats, and many commercial baked goods. These are the foods that truly drive up the bad LDL cholesterol in your blood and increase your risk for heart disease. It's about looking at the entire food, not just a single number on a label. My advice is to focus on building a diet rich in whole, nutrient-dense foods. Fill your plate with fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats. Enjoy those eggs, have some cheese in moderation, and don't be afraid of the sardines. Moderation and balance are your best friends. It's not about perfection, it's about making consistently better choices over time. A healthy diet combined with regular exercise, not smoking, and managing stress is the most powerful tool you have for maintaining a healthy heart and a long, vibrant life. Your daily habits are what truly shape your long-term health outcomes. Finally, and this is incredibly important, this video is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Your health needs are unique. Your genetics, your current health status, and your lifestyle all play a role in what diet is best for you. Please talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian. They can order blood work, assess your personal risk factors, and help you create a personalized plan that is safe and effective for you. Thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.